Hello, I am Nell 3D for another subtraction session. Thrilled to be here with the fabulous Miki Feldman Simon, who is an executive coach, but also, as you see beautifully behind her, the author of Core Leadership. Welcome, Miki.
Thank you, Nell. I'm so excited to be here.
Same. So, the question that we're going to dive into, I can't wait, is what if we subtracted other people? Which I
Mm.
don't know about you. Right now in my life and at this moment, there's a lot of people in my life who I love. And coming back at it in January, subtracting other people sounds kind of lovely. So tell me, this is obviously, using my lens of subtraction over your beautiful framework and insights from core leadership. But say a little more about this hypothesis of subtracting other people.
So I think we tend to focus on other people so much and forget that the first person we should be focusing on is ourselves and leading ourselves. It starts with us because when we focus on all those other people, we forget our priorities. They run our day. We are run by their priorities, by what matters to them,
Yeah.
rather than being intentional and working towards what we really believe in, what our priorities, what our goals are. So letting go of some of those people, and there's definitely some on my list as well, uh, but just going back and thinking first, it all starts with you. It starts with leading yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, so beautiful. And specifically, you say one of the biggest myths in leadership is that it starts with managing others. I mean, of course, right? There's lead from behind. I mean, so many leadership tropes that are about other people. But what breaks? What's the cost when people start from we or even world and purpose in the lead in 3D framework before they've done this me piece?
They lose clarity as the first part,
Mm,
and in some ways, you lose yourself.
mm,
So recently, I was talking to one of my clients, and he said to me, Mickey, I've lost myself. I don't know where I am in all of this. Where I chose to call the book Core Leadership because I believe in leading from your core.
mm,
So the core stands for a framework, but there's something here when you really lead, behave from your principles, from your values, from your priorities. When you lead intentionally rather than just automatically, you there's so much more purpose. There's so much more motivation and energy, and you actually also have a lot more influence when you build more trust with people because you show up as this whole real, authentic leader
mm.
that knows what they stand for.
Yeah, this feels so timely to me, at least right now, right? In a moment where, I mean, I just keep saying like, can we all like vote to like re-endorse the golden rule? Like, what about that? There's a lot of I got this thing from HBR, which I know, we both subscribe to and know a lot of writers and thinkers at HBS and who write in HBR as, hopefully we both will be featured as well one day. And so there's a lot of great things. But the tip of the day that they sent out as I was headed off to vacation this past week over holidays was about kindness. Now, I'm a big fan of kindness. I think it's a great idea. I support kindness all day, every day. Not niceness. Amira Barger wrote a beautiful book. We
Right.
had a jam session on that, but kindness, all for it. But this post was about defining kindness, which, okay, I was kind of like, okay, fair, that's helpful in a very chaotic and diverse world. Great. The second was about kind of modeling kindness, which I'm all that part felt really clear. And the third was about measuring kindness. And so
Hmm.
now we're like putting like tick marks and like KPIs around kind. And it just, Mickey, like tripped me into this moment of
Um,
the
the,
best of the best. Like, really? We need to legislate, and that's the good side. The bad side is a horrific lack of kindness and brutality and cruelty and extraction and all of that at work. So anyway, just this feels so timely right now because of the risk of losing our core, simple selves, of wanting to be good humans. Is that why you're releasing this right now?
Oh, yeah, I have to tell you. So I started writing the book, it's about 2 years ago now. And there was so much happening in the world that made me and motivated me to keep going and to release this book now because I feel like we need this values-based leadership, this leadership that's based on a real compass and intention
Yeah.
of doing good. But one thing that you said now, like I was reading all the different research about kindness, but when you said tick the box, it really irked me because the the book, Core Leadership and the Process, really is about what do things mean for you. It's not about get up at 5 in the morning, because kill me first if you do that to me.
And
Like
if it works for you, congratulations. Hallelujah.
exactly. So it's what about works for you? So what's being kind for you? Not a
Mm,
checkbox. A checkbox takes all the greatness out of it, right?
yeah.
It's, and by the way, you said the golden rule, and I really think I like the platinum rule because
Mm,
what we learn more and more today with the golden rule is like to treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself, is that there's so many people that they have other needs
mhm.
and they would like to be treated differently. I'm a hugger, I'm a toucher. Not everybody likes that.
I am, just so you know, when we meet in person, I'm all
We
in.
will hug,
Yeah, we'll
yes.
hug.
But really understanding
Mm,
what is it, how do you want to show up? What does
yeah,
kindness mean to you,
yeah,
right? And how do you want to present it? How do you want to show up for other people in an authentic way for you, not just marking the box. So this is what kindness means in X. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
doesn't
No.
resonate with me that part.
Fair, I hear that. And so, you've said we talk about leading in 3D. So there's the me, there's the we, there's the world. And of course, as we giggled before getting on live, we don't actually want to extract other people as leaders. We love other people and we need them, and that's all part of it. But we can over tilt toward the we first, right? And risk this loss of clarity, loss of our own self and purpose, especially in this world where the HBR Daily Tip is coming and the Forbes list of 10 tips and the Inc., whatever. There's just a lot coming at us. So trying to be practical this week and in this moment for folks, what's a small way that you yourself or the clients you work with have strengthened the me piece?
So it's really stepping back, pausing for a moment, and clarifying for yourself what is this me piece,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So taking the time to clarify, and core stands for the C stands for clarify. So clarify your values, your priorities. And it's in the, like, you can think about it like it's zooming out, like how do you want to lead
mm,
your life, but also in the moment, like every day, what are your priorities, not what's everything being thrown at you. Also understanding your strengths, what does success mean for you?
mhm.
So, and not just what it means for everybody else around you. Again, that me part and putting the other people aside.
Yeah.
And so that you're very intentional in how you're leading. And I can tell you that, like, with my clients, it really is sort of taking that step back so that afterwards, the O is operationalizing your intention. So being very clear about what actions you will take and
Mm,
what habits you will keep and what habits you let go of, right? We're not just adding things to the list.
yeah.
In some ways, we're just getting very clear on what we stand for.
Mhm.
And I'll just tell you the rest of
Please
core
flesh
for
it out.
anybody
Yep.
wondering.
Yeah.
So I said the C is clarify, the O is operationalize. So we're taking the intentions and we're putting them into action because we're very good at talking, not as so much good at doing.
Mm,
And the reflect is really taking notice in how on the patterns and how we get in our own way. What's our
mm,
self-talk? What's our triggers? Again, so it's all about me. What is my part of things? What am I doing to get in my own way? And the evaluate looks at how we show up for others as well. So we evaluate our progress, but we also see how am I coming across to other people?
mm,
Because, we judge ourselves by our intentions but other people judge us by our behaviors and our actions.
Mm,
So this is where we do look out to other people to see again, but we're looking at this is what I intended to do. Is it really happening?
mhm.
Is that how I'm being perceived? I think that I'm being clear. Other people, I think I'm being too direct, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
no, that's
going
great.
back to that, yeah.
That's great. The I want to be again super clear and helpful with people because this subtraction idea I think is fun, but it can feel flip. You know, subtracting other people, that's not practical. I can't do that. I'm a manager of people. I'm a
Yeah.
client provider of people. I coach people, but like who really are these other people that we're subtracting? Because I have this sense, I mean, there are actual humans and colleagues, right? But then there's some other groups of people that I hear you encouraging us to kind of maybe silence or mute for a moment. Is that fair?
Oh, it's interesting you asked that. So I think it's when you go back to in some ways your priorities should also be who are the people that you should be. You can think about managing, serving, reporting to, and being more intentional about that. So who
Mm,
are these people? Who should you be listening to for feedback, let's say? So part of
mm.
the evaluate is getting feedback. You shouldn't be listening to everybody. And by the way, I mentioned this in the book, but Tasha Eurich talks about um and it just flipped I'll think about it in a second, but
No
she
worries.
calls it, she has a name for what are the people, loving critics. It just escaped me.
Ah,
So your
yeah.
loving critics, what are loving critics? Two criteria there. And
Okay.
sometimes your bosses, who are very often the ones who give you feedback, don't quite fit in there because a loving critic is somebody that has your best intentions in their mind. And
Mm,
sometimes there are people who have other intentions, right? And they know your work.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's two things because some people don't necessarily know your work and they can give you feedback. And I can tell you a story about that if we have time for
Mm,
today about me during writing the book. So it is people who have your best interest in mind
hmm
and know your work.
hmm
And if they don't fit in those categories, those are definitely people that you want to subtract. And you know what? I think that I wrote a blog about this just a few weeks ago as I realized that there were some people I didn't have chemistry with.
mm
Um, I didn't do anything wrong, okay? Because
hmm
I do think it's important to think like, have I done anything to hurt them? To make them dislike me. But people who just didn't like me, no chemistry. Okay, let it go. Subtract those people and not spend your energy there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just, and it's just the way our minds work, we get attracted to those people more and
Yeah.
we tend to try and invest more and more in those relationships. Let it go. Definitely the people you want to subtract. You know, it's not about you. It's
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use that energy.
Totally. And the other group that I see, so I don't know if this came up or you see in your work, the other group I see are imagined other people. Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that is brilliant. But the whole part of reflect,
Uh,
he also talks about these imagined other people because
yeah.
these imagined other people is your self-talk often, right?
Yeah.
So we're building stories about what somebody's saying, what somebody's maybe doing, and they did some a little bit, and we've interpreted it as to something else. And so we definitely have these imaginary people in our mind that often control how we think and what we do. And a big part of the reflect part is really to pause and to pay attention to it.
hmm
Because the most conversations we're ever going to have is with ourselves. So, what are we telling us? What are these imaginary people,
Yeah.
which is us, really telling us? And we need to let go of. We need to
Yeah.
change those conversations.
Yeah. Totally. I think that's so real. It's come up really just a few times in the last few days. It's so salient for me. And I talk and think a lot about the fact that it's an adjacency here, but there's this idea of urgency versus importance, which I think is comes out. You can sort through a lot of that with this core
Mhm.
process. So amen to that. Um, and I say that urgency has an infrastructure, right? There are red alerts, there are bosses, there are calendar invites coming at you, there are deadlines, so there's this infrastructure, whereas important doesn't, even though it's like your children's health and your own purpose. Like these are really important, but no one has an alert for them. And I think similarly, our own inner voice has no infrastructure, whereas other people, whether it's external experts that we've never met, or the influencers on Instagram or TikTok, or these imaginary versions of other people, have literally a tech infrastructure based on neuroscience and very expensive engineering that are coming at us. And we just don't have that for ourselves.
I love the infrastructure idea. I haven't thought about it from that perspective.
Mm,
I think I go back to the clarify part because when you're strong within yourself,
mhm,
right? When you think like when your core is strong, right? And I'm not just talking about exercising core, but really when you know what you stand up for, when you know what you believe, when you know why you're
mm,
doing things, it is much easier to subtract these other voices, whichever way they show up,
yeah,
because your priorities are clear. Are you going to pay attention to those coming emails, to all these other messages when you know what you need to get done
yeah,
today, this month, this year, etc.?
yeah. I love it. So to bring it to action, the story about Leah, the client that you worked with, was really juicy, right? It really was costing her a lot, and she came a long way. Will you share that journey?
Sure. So this is one of my clients who she was brilliant, but and there's often a but when I come and work with people.
And we could use the improv.
Yes,
Yes,
and
and she
yes,
was
I love
brilliant.
the
And
because it definitely was an end because we dropped the butt. But she was used to saying yes to people,
Mm,
okay? And she was very collaborative. She was trying to help everybody else.
mm,
And while she was doing that, she was starting to lose her follow through
mm,
and she wasn't performing as well as she used to. And when we went back, and not but when we went back and we started to clarify, it was very interesting because she had, first of all, this perception that to be a good leader, you had to, first of all, collaborate and say yes to all of your colleagues and everybody else. When we really unpack that, she had to go back and clarify, like, what kind of leader does she want to be?
mm,
And because we don't think about it from like, who do you want to be? We often think about just the little thing. But when you think about your being, like, do I want to be somebody who just does what everybody else wants? I haven't met a person that just said yes. Okay. Or do I want to really think what are the priorities for my role? How do I
mm,
want to show up? And that in some ways gave her like the backbone and the understanding on going back to what are her priorities first and understanding those and looking and being able to say to people no and going back and sort of thinking, okay, what are my strengths? Because part of the work that we do in the Clarify is really understanding your strengths.
mm,
So, where should I be spending my time? Where should I be delegating, passing things on to other people?
mhm,
And it's amazing, like delegation, by the way, shows up so many times for people and at all different levels and for different reasons. But when you unpack it and you understand sort of a bit of the story behind it, and what can be your motivation for delegating?
mm.
Because there's like, and often it's like suddenly when you see it as an opportunity for growth for other people, not just dumping things on their plate, then things changed. And for Leah, things changed dramatically
Mm,
because it's like she got this backbone of because she was very clear on what she needed to do next and delegating, saying no, using her strengths where it was most needed.
mm,
And the next quarter, she exceeded her goals. So, and it was amazing to see it just like things flip
Mm,
and flip quickly
mm.
because we changed the lens, we changed the perspective and understood the impact of her actions as well, right? She had great intentions, by the way, of helping
Oh,
everybody.
sure, of course. No one can hate that, right? But I love that. And that's such a good kind of, mic drop of this reveal that like you're not actually encouraging people to subtract other people, right? And in the leading in 3D approach, yes, me is an if I'm forced to say where do I start, we have to start with me because, you put your oxygen mask on first, right? It's just the way it is. And the surprise bonus is that when me is really strong and clear and invested in, it supports the we, right? And now she's doing her job better. So is she saying yes a few fewer times? Yeah, and maybe in some cases that's hard for a colleague, right? They have to work a little longer or learn something new they didn't how to know how to do. And if that's their job, that's probably a good thing. To your point, it's a growth area, not a burden, really. So I love that kind of reveal of the me to the we. And knowing that both of our audiences are both those high achievers, impact seeking, gold star junkies that are always trying to be liked and do more and help. I want to finally bring it to the world piece, right? Because that motivates us too. And so don't worry, we are still invested in the we. Everybody can rest easy. We're not jerks. We're not encouraging selfishness. It's not just me. You just got to start there. But you shared even in your book story how actually getting beyond the me to some world motivation was really helpful. Say more.
So I strongly believe that when your me is strong, but not as in selfish, we're talking about self-leadership, right? And like, it's not being selfish, it is just coming from that intentional place.
Mm,
So when I wrote the book, it started with really trying to work out what is it that I do with my clients, what is it that I believe in. And once the framework came together, it it became a thing of itself, and
mm,
it became I knew I had something here that could have such positive impact on people that that it can change their lives. And the feedback that I've been getting is from people that it's changing their lives, not just as a leader, as a professional, but also their personal lives. And yeah, for me as well, when I worked out my values, my priorities, how do I make family come first?
mm,
That showed up, right?
mm,
So in the work, what happened in the book is that it wasn't about me anymore. And it wasn't about me as an author or my work. It really was about this message. And it made it so much easier to pursue Marshall Goldsmith, to write the forward, to I have amazing endorsements for the book, to reach out to all these people. It wasn't about me. I was
mm,
reaching out because there was this belief that there's something here. And by the way, when we're moving to win the world, I strongly believe that if we each led from this core, then we would have more of a positive impact on the we and on the world, that we would have a better world. And I write in the book as well that there's research that when you lead from your core, you are happier. And
mm.
when we are happier, we help other people around us are happier, because
Yeah,
when you show up in a positive way and you're feeling good about yourself, it resonates further.
yeah.
So it really became something that it's like this message has to go out there. It's about the message, it's about the book,
Mm,
and everything looked different. It was
mm.
seriously this journey that turned into something I didn't expect
So
in that
good.
way.
And yeah, no, that's what I see. I mean, that's the 3D win-win-win, right? Is I'm stronger, clearer, better, more efficient, less tired, happier, and it just ripples, no doubt. And then that becomes the flywheel, right? It's great. Well, this has been amazing. Obviously, everyone is going to get core leadership and do the full four-step process. Brilliant, brilliant book. So thank you for writing it. In the meantime, before they get their hot little hands and get through the whole thing, wondering if there is one thing that you want people, just as a start, we know one size doesn't fit all, but one invitation of an experiment to subtract, not one more thing to do, because we're talking about subtraction, but if there's one thing you would invite them to experiment with letting go of toward a stronger core, what would it be?
What should they let go of? I think I would go to a value that no longer serves them.
Mm,
Because in core, by the way, I start with values, and I think a lot of us don't spend enough time. We don't sit down and think about our values today and
mm,
our values because we're so influenced by our parents' values when we grow up. It can be
yeah,
our partners, our colleagues, people around us. So I would say, first of all, start the core process if you want to think about it by thinking about your values and what values you can also, if you want to take it to priority, what do you want to let go of?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So that you can stick with the things, I always say, if you say yes to something, you have to say no to something. So what do you want to say yes to so you can say no to some things? What values are no longer serving you?
yeah. I love that. That's gonna have to be a future episode. Maybe Susie Welch will do what if we subtracted values? But it's a great illustration of the power of subtraction that again, these are good things. We don't actually mean to write off other people and not care anymore. And values, like what are you gonna subtract? Honesty? Maybe. Because you can only have so many. It doesn't mean you have to start lying, but we can't honor all good things at the same level. And so you have to make hard choices. It's a beautiful invitation.
So I would even say that sometimes not of all of our values are serving us
Hmm.
because there was something that was left that we grew up with.
Yeah.
Um, I realized a while back that an Israeli value. I grew up in Israel for the first part of my life, where in Israel there's a cultural value that says it's like don't be a sucker. A sucker in Hebrew is a fire. I
Mm,
think I write about it in the book as well, that it's just, and that is something that runs your life. You are
mm,
not going to be taken advantage of, right? And it shows up in how you behave. And I found
mm,
myself in a supermarket behaving that way, going in front of the woman in front of me to grab something left on the shelf. And I paused and I went, hold on. And that is that value that is really like it's
yeah.
part of sort of who I was as an Israeli. I'm like, no, that's no longer serving me.
Mm,
That's not who I am today. And when I talk about it, I talked about it to Israeli friends, they laughed because it's like that is what's called because somebody else would do it to you, right? Somebody
uh-huh.
else would go and grab the bread or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
I would really say in that is just think if there's things that are no longer working for you. It's no longer who you are today because we
Yeah.
change.
Totally, of course. Beautiful. Oh, I love it. Mickey, such a pleasure. Congratulations and thank you for writing this book. Can't wait to read
Thank
it and see
you.
it have its ripples in the world. And, just everybody out there keep on rolling and subtract other people at least a little bit, and certainly the imaginary ones.
The imaginary and the people who are just not serving you, not doing good for you. Let them go.
So fun. Thanks, Mickey. Take care.
Thank you, Nell.